Old Tip Coon, he's a learned scholar. Old Tip Coon, he's a learned scholar. Old Tip Coon, he's a learned scholar. Sings possum up a gum tree and Cooney in the holler. Possum up a gum tree, Cooney on a stump. Possum up a gum tree, Cooney on a stump. Possum up a gum tree, Cooney on a stump. Then over double trouble, Zip Coon will jump. Oh, zip-a-dutton-dutton-dutton, zip-a-dutton-day. Zip-a-dutton-dutton-dutton-dutton-dutton-day. Zip-a-dutton-dutton-dutton, zip-a-dutton-day. Zip-a-dutton-dutton-dutton, zip-a-dutton-day.
Send all y'all back to Africa. You can't. Because we the original American as well. The original American. I'm not an American at all. I'm an African. Black people can't be Americans. Black people can't be Americans. So you just can't say, well, we send all y'all back to Africa. You can't. Because we the original American as well. The original American.
To an episode of Coon Catchers, where we catch all coons in the act of coonery. Thank you to our sponsors, Telecundo. And now,
Nazis ain't all crazy. Whole lot of people just can't seem to fit into where things seem to be going. Like you, CJ. See, the black race can't afford you no more. Oh, there used to be a time we'd see somebody like you singing, clowning, yassabos, and we wouldn't do anything. Folks like that. You were good. Homie kind of nigga. When they needed somebody to mistreat, call a name or two, they paraded you. Reminded them of the good old days. Not no more. The day of the Geechee is gone, boy.
The history that Native Americans have, and actually it's disrespectful for African Americans to go out and say that they're Native American to the rich Native American cultures that have been here for thousands of years. I mean, Native Americans are descendants of Asians who came here, who migrated here. And we have the archaeology, we have the biological anthropology, we have the genetics, the fossils, everything is there, show and prove, okay? So there is no debate on it. We look at Native American population. They were at one point very large with the settlement and the arrival and settlement of Europeans. Those populations were brought down to very few numbers. And so the genetic diversity, the biological diversity, the cultural diversity was lost, okay? But they were not of recent African descent. Okay, those Native Americans were not. Now, for some reason, there are African Americans who are here who want to claim this connection with Native Americans. I don't know for what, outside of maybe trying to get some money from casinos or something. I don't know, but they want to have this connection with Native Americans. And it's funny because it's almost like we are the Native American. And so whoever was here or whatever history that you can show coming from Asia just wasn't true. I mean, it's even more shocking that you would even say that. But I also don't understand why a black person would want to be anything other than African. Okay? That is the real deep sort of issue that has to be addressed by those individuals who continue to argue. I mean, they continue to argue this point. Now, I'm not going to say that no black folk came here when the Europeans came here early on, Columbus and all that stuff, right? Because I'm sure there was black folk on those ships. Mm-hmm. I'm almost positive that they were black folk. I'm even suggesting that some of them could have been Moors from Spain, okay? But there was no wholesale movement of black folk to the New World and then contribute all of what the Native Americans did. And for some reason, that was lost too, I guess, in the history that, it was the black experience that contributed to the Native American history. I don't know, but I'm just saying there is no evidence of this wholesale movement of people of West and Central African descent being here before the transatlantic slave trade. So the African American community that's there today came from, we are descendants. I'm going to say this really,
it's about to be done now,
just clear, okay? The bulk of African Americans are descendants of enslaved Africans from West and Central Africa.
You don't get no much simpler than that, but just for the that presentation, you know, let's stop it all the way into it. Dr. Rick, thank you for the
Stay away from near Qatar. Stay away from near Qatar. Stay away from all the gangsters and hustlers and killers. All the shooting ass niggas. Stay away from near Qatar. Stay away from near Qatar. Stay away from all the gangsters and hustlers and killers and all the shooting ass niggas. Stay away from near Qatar. Stay away from near Qatar. Stay away from all the gangsters and hustlers and killers. All the shooting ass niggas. I remember when I was broke and couldn't get.
He buys her and makes her his wife, and they live happily ever after. It never happened. Never happened. Malcolm Gladwell. I was on Martha's meeting a couple times. He said, we were never slaves. Look at point number 2. Because my great-great-grandmother was an Igbo princess. And there was a German walking by, and he bought it. I go, oh, really? And the next day, and I told her that was true. She got very angry at me, so I decided to be cool about how I told people that they were believing myths. The next day, Malcolm Gladwell was in my last series, Face of America. I called him, and I said, Malcolm, would you be in my new series? He said, yeah. And I said, how far can you trace your ancestry? He said, oh, man, I'm so glad I got somebody to tell. You know, we found out I'm descended from an Igbo princess. I go, yeah, I heard that story. I want everybody to be honest. Just the African Americans in this room. How many of you are descended from a Native American? Just raise your hand. Don't be ashamed. There you go. Look at all them Native Americans. Well, I got news for you. None of y'all descended from Native Americans. My grandmother had high cheekbones and straight black hair. Every Negro I know claimed that in 1950. Well, guess what the DNA evidence shows? Only 5% of the African American people, 1 out of 20, have any significant Native American ancestry. But 1 out of 20. But on the other hand, 58% of the African American people have a significant amount of white ancestry. You know that those high cheekbones and straight black hair? That came from your white great-great-grandfather. The average African American and the average Native American never saw each other. I don't know about you all, but you can't sleep with, the internet can do a lot, but you can't sleep with somebody you can't see. The average admixture for African Americans is the average black person is 77% black, 17.5% European, and 5% Native American. Now, I was telling the students this morning, I went to see LeBron lose against the Celtics on Tuesday. Claudia, one common belief among African Americans is that the slaves managed to escape from plantations and find refuge with their Native American brothers and sisters. They'd sit around the campfire, slapping five, and smoking the peace pipe with coachees. Did this happen?
In some cases, it happened, but just as often, these fugitive slaves were captured by Indians and returned to the planters. And in fact, the colonies had policies. They implemented policies of rewarding Indians who returned fugitive slaves. They might be given 2 guns and a kettle if they brought back a live slave, and half as much if they brought back a dead slave, or rather the 2 ears of a dead slave, which is what they required.
According to Claudio, substantial social contact only occurred in the early colonial era when settlers enslaved Native Americans and African Americans together, and between the Revolution and the Civil War, when a small number of black people
were enslaved by the 5.
This is the slave population in the United States. Notice in 1800, at almost 1 million slaves in the United States. Now remember, only 193,000 from the beginning of them bringing them here, over 100 years. But remember that from 1800 to 1866, that only 100,000 slaves were brought. But look at the number, 4 million slaves. Where did that number come from? Now, another thing is this, is that we have to realize that 2/3 of those numbers were African males. 1/3 of the cargo was children and females. If we only did, there were 22% children. If we only did the females, only 14% of those people were females. Who's making all the slaves if there's only the 26,000? 26,000 females. Because again, when the females were coming over, they had to acclimate to they're riding on a boat for 3 months, which is going to knock your system totally out of whack. Okay, and most of the females, when they came over, they were not able to bear children. How are they going to be making all these slaves that were in the United States? Who were these people who were making all of these babies to provide slaves for the United States? And the United States was the only place where we were making our slaves here. That's why the numbers are much smaller, because we were growing our own slaves right here. But who were the people that they were using? They were utilizing the indigenous people here. They were utilizing the indigenous people here. How else could they come up with these large numbers?
They need to understand, and if they go into the Catholic archives here in America, they will find out that in the 60s and the 50s, what they call black and African Americans, and African Americans didn't come along. Back then they were saying Afro, but according to the U.S. Census record, you were listed as a Negro Indian. Black folks don't like to read. Go read the congressional records. I don't get information from authors. I go to the source.
Not that many people were brought here from Africa as slaves on any slave ship. Some of our people were captured here and enslaved here, tricked into servitude and tricked out of their properties through these servitudes, but it was not slavery as you know it today.
Waited a long time for you, boy. But I got you. I put 2 Geechees in jail in Camp Campbell, Kentucky. 3 in Fort Huachuca. Now I got you. One less fool for the race to be ashamed of.
Only 1% Native American.
These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only. These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only. These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only. These DNA tests for ethnicity are entertainment value only.
William Gilliland is a biology professor at DePaul. He says DNA kits can be great for connecting family members and finding relatives, but the science for ethnicity testing isn't as concrete.
There's nothing that confident for ethnicity. There's no diagnostic nucleotide. You can say this person is from Europe, this person's from Africa.
0% Native American. And 0% Native American. And 0% who are Native American.
We're going to have to tell the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma now. I misrepresented myself. I'm not Choctaw at all, you know.
And you'll see there's no figure for Native American because you ain't got no Native American.
Gotcha, bitch.
If they did a test, could you, with a scientific degree of accuracy, say you do not have Native American blood?
What we would say is, first of all, which line of the family tree, which branch of the family tree is Native American?
Okay.
And then they would have to test that branch.
Okay.
And if that test comes back without Native American ancestry, then we would say there is no Native American ancestry on this branch of the family tree. It may be on other branches, but we didn't test those. So they'd have to look at one branch of the family tree in order for us to be that specific.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now. Stop the cap. No bullshit, bro.
So when you say branch, are you talking about the mother or the father?
You got more than 2 branches. You've got 4 branches when you go back 2 generations because you've got those 4 grandparents.
Okay.
You've got 8 branches when you go back another generation because of your great-grandparents. And if you go back 10 generations, there are over 1,000 branches to your family tree.
Okay. So you say that overwhelmingly, when you test African Americans who have maintained that they have native blood, you don't find it.
Right, but let me also be very clear with this because, you know, you're asking these definitives. The interesting thing about African Americans is that we're not one homogeneous, monolithic group.
Since I had done this successfully in the past, I figured that I would try it with my iguana. I collected as much saliva that I could and decided to send it to 23andMe to see what kind of results I'd get sent back. After a couple weeks, I headed to the mailbox to get the results. And I just can't believe that this actually worked. So I plugged the results into my computer, and as you can see, they tried to claim that my iguana, Henry, was Nigerian and Ghanaian and Senegambian. But they also said that he had about 8% of European blood. I don't know what the heck's going on here, but I'm going to keep trying this with my other animals.
Between 1616 and 1618, which was even before the Pilgrims came, it was of European origin, brought here by fishermen and explorers before the Pilgrims came.
It's quite clear that from the first arrival, from the first time that Africans set foot in the Americas, they were intermingling with Native Americans. And the interaction continued, obviously, all the way through Indian removal, and even thereafter, those Indians who stayed in the southeast were mingling with African Americans. Well, in the
Son, that is no longer African. All of y'all niggas running around thinking y'all African. Y'all don't know nothing about no fucking African. All of y'all niggas running around thinking y'all African. Y'all don't know nothing about no fucking African. I'm not no fucking African. I'm not no fucking African.
Mines came back saying, yes, I got Native American. And I knew that part come from my father.
All of y'all niggas running around thinking y'all African. Y'all don't know nothing about no fucking African. I'm not no fucking African.
Mines came back saying, yes, I got Native American. And I knew that part come from my father.
I'm not no fucking African. Number one. That's I never talk. That's the energy, man. What are you? You don't speak no African language. You don't eat no African food. So what? You don't wear no African catch you on the street, nigga. No more. About Africa, man. That's Sonetta. Yeah, this Sonetta talking. I'm not no fucking. Y'all listen to this. None of you niggas know nothing about Africa. Let me finish talk. Let me finish talk. Yeah, and let me say y'all, man. No. Everybody be quiet. Hold on. You know I'm the fucking African. Hold on. Go ahead, Sonetta. I want to hear you Negroes know nothing about no African. Y'all can claim Africa all you want. Them niggas look at y'all like a piece of shit.
Them brothers look at me like I was crazy. They don't claim us, we claim them. They don't claim us, we claim them.
I'm African. We was here before. Well, they treated me just y'all keep on saying we African. What the fuck does that mean? Ain't no such thing as that. I'm African. We was here before. Well, they treated me just.
Because we the original American as well.
I'm not no fucking African.
Because we the original American as well.
I'm not no fucking African.
Because we the original American as well.
Y'all can claim Africa all you want. Them niggas look at y'all like a piece of shit.
Mines came back saying, yes, I got Native American. And I knew that part come from my father.
So y'all keep on saying we African. What the fuck does that mean? Ain't no such thing as that. I'm African.
We was here before.
Well, they treated me just fine. They treated me just fine.
Let me finish.
They
We was
treated
here
me just
before some white
fine.
Africans. Where all your scholars at? All your fucking scholars up there talking this African shit. We was here before Africa.
Because we the original American as well.
We was here before Africa. We was here before Africa. That's a baby fucking language. Alright? That shit is baby talk.
Oh, man.
So we can really
I'm saying, the more you open your mouth, the more you're not qualified.
God damn, did you sound that? Hold on, wait. Hey, sound that. This brother Unc, yo, you my man, yo. For the listening audience, what language is here? What language is here? Hold on, Sonetta. What language are you talking about? Since we not African, then who the fuck are we then, bro?
And y'all not no motherfucking African.
I mean, I don't think they knew. I mean, if they had known, known about the horrible stories that these brothers and sisters were going through when they were being transported, not only from Marquis, but through the transatlantic, through Goree, and then the transatlantic route through the States. I don't think they would have continued doing it. I mean, besides, there was no means of knowing, the brutalities that they underwent.
Perhaps the people around the castles might have seen how horrible it was.
They might have seen some aspect of it, but those of us, that's our ancestors who were in the interior, had no means of knowing, except through a few stories here and there. But if they had known, I'm sure that they wouldn't have continued doing it.
It's hard to turn down such a huge source of profit. The motivation of human beings.
Well, that's the human factor in trading, the profitability of it. But it happened, and I think most people are very sorry that it did happen that way. Yes.
Especially the slaves.
Well, I hope so. Yes. Yes.
It's not surprising that he should want to explain away this nightmare in our history. The truth is, like everyone else in this business, the Ashanti were motivated by profit.
Since the time the first black person was kidnapped from the shores of Africa.